Okay. Hi, everyone. Hope you're all well. Welcome to the Single No More online summit. We are here to give you the tools to feel confident that you can meet and keep your Mr. Right this year. I am so passionate about helping people find love, and I'm therefore reaching out to the best experts to help you achieve this goal. And of course, today is Greg Behrendt, who I'm so excited to have on. If you don't know him, you'll know today, but he is a New York Times best-selling author, comedian, musician, and renowned life and relationship coach. He is also most known for co-authoring the book, He's Just Not That Into You, as well as It's Called a Breakup Because It's Broken and It's Just a Fucking Date, which is an amazing book as well. So there's no question that Greg is an expert in this space, and I'm delighted and honored to have you on the show. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. So first off, I think I speak for all women when I say thank you for writing the book, He's Just Not That Into You.
And I'd like to make the point that I co-wrote it with a woman named Liz Tuchilla.
Yeah, and that's actually quite interesting that you say that, because the book that I've written, I co-authored with a man.
Right.
So funny enough, I think it's really good to have that dynamic.
Yeah, super important.
Of the two.
No way I
would have done that. And I would say, is this true? And he would go, yep. And I go, great.
Yeah, there's no way I would have done it without a woman.
Perfect. It helped me tremendously. I think it set me on the right path to, again, not take any bullshit from a guy. And if they were making an excuse, I just went, okay, cool. And I didn't take it personally. I said, cool, you're just not that into me.
Right.
And it was so easy to do. And I think it put me on a really good start in my dating life, because that probably would have been in my early 20s. So
Yeah,
I loved it. Are you surprised that that book is still quite relevant today?
I mean, I am and I'm not. I am in that when anything sticks around for longer than you expected it to, it's pretty great, right? You know, I didn't have any, but I think the point's still valid. I still think people miss it, you know, so.
I know. That's what I'm saying. People still are doing, like, they're still falling for the excuses. What is going on?
I just think people think their situations are unique.
Yeah.
And they don't see it, you know, the way everybody else does. And so they, you know, they rationalize and they, you know, they have hope. I think women by nature are hopeful, but men, you know, men can be as well. But, and I think they keep thinking, oh, this is going to be something different. You know, this is a unique, they think they're the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. So I guess in a weird way, it would be helpful to think that you're not, you know, it's probably going to benefit you more if you assume you're not going to be the exception. And I think that's what we're trying to say. And obviously there's a ton of other books still saying the same thing, but it would be helpful for women to go, hey, what if I assume that I'm not the exception, and see what that does for me, rather than thinking they're exception and wasting years of their lives.
Yeah. I mean, I think that idea serves you well in life, to not think you're the exception. I think really to sort of, you know, believe that you're the rule keeps you safe. And I think, you know, because being the exception is just a rationalization.
Yeah. And I think also the really harsh point to note is that it's not getting them what they want, right? Like, okay, you can rationalize all you want, but let's really ask the question, are you getting what you want?
Well, and also, is this what you had hoped for? Did you think it was going to be this difficult? Did you think it was going to be this, you know, anemic, you know, do you think you're worth this little? Yeah.
You make a really good point there with self-worth, because I realize that is almost, when it comes down to it, I can see now that everything comes back to self-worth. You know, if you're asking the question, why are they not into me? What did I do wrong? All those statements mean that you don't have self-worth. And that's, to me, a really dangerous space for women.
Yeah. Well, it's a dangerous space for anybody to devalue their situation and to take less than they are worth.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's hard to say that you deserve something from a human being, because human beings are only capable of so much.
Yeah.
But what you deserve as a person, what's acceptable to you is another thing. Setting a standard for yourself. You know, we can't, you know, we can hope that people will behave the way we want them to, but we have so little control.
I think that's a good point that you make when you say, because a lot of people say you deserve it or you should demand this. And like you said, it's hard. It is hard for any confident person to say, I deserve this. And I think we know deep down that other people can see it for us, but it's hard for us to see it for us. So I think people say that a lot, but it doesn't really connect. And I think
because you don't want something, if you demand it, you ultimately end up not wanting it. Like, it has to come naturally. It has to be an organic thing that's driven by the person who's loving you.
Yeah.
We put too much expectation on people, and I think we rarely go into a situation wanting nothing. I think going in and wanting nothing, you'll be surprised at what you get. But if you go in wanting everything, you're not going to get it.
Yeah. I said to a client this morning, I said, she was still coming out saying, I'm not hearing from this guy. What's going on? I said, remove your expectation and you're not going to be disappointed. It's exactly what you just said.
Right. And of course we always, it's hard not to have an expectation. It's just look at what's going on and then read that as the information it is. Actions are everything. And if somebody's not taking an action on your behalf, they're not interested.
It's that whole, see it for what it is, right? And like you said, back to what women do, we're very hopeful,
Yeah.
Do you think we're hopeful because of the perception that has been maybe painted to us? I know that I was one who, I call it falling for the fairy tale. I did think it was just going to be easy. It was going to be seamless. It was going to be magical. And do you think that's where the hope comes from what we believe it might be, and therefore almost like setting that expectation?
Yeah, I think there's societal role plays. There's a societal role in it. There is sometimes you get your information from your family. Sometimes you get it from books and TV, film, movies, all that kind of stuff. I think we have an expectation that everything's going to go fine. We expect that the job we get is going to be. Yeah. We expect everything is going to go fine.
That's an optimistic view, so you can't blame people for that.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with hoping that it's going to go well. And of course, at the beginning, it always feels magical because you don't know this person and you don't know the terrain yet. But everything good comes to an end in a certain way. So I think it's looking at things as being, can you enjoy the moment and not worry about the future? Can you just enjoy this as it is right now? Can you take this for what it is really what's really showing up?
And that's hard. That comes back to, even the Power of Now book saying, if you're thinking about anything other than right now, you're either worrying, you're thinking about the past or the future, you're not there, and it's robbing you of today, right?
Right. You just don't know that, but we could have better outcomes if we're present. If we're not present, the outcomes can be bad. Because we weren't paying attention while we were there enjoying it.
Yeah. Again, it's one of those things where you would think everyone would do it, and if we all knew that it would give a better outcome, we would do it, right? But
it's difficult. We have really active left brains that want to solve problems and create problems for ourselves to solve.
Yeah, I know. So I think you're making a good point. Things are going to happen and your brain's going to do things that you're not realizing. And I think the more you can probably just be aware of what's happening, and your brain's maybe trying to, justify the situation, control the situation, give you an answer,
Look for a problem, trying to find what's going to happen next.
Yeah. It's kind of it's a real irony, because I definitely know the feeling, and I know a lot of women want to, anticipate what's going to happen. Your brain predicts it. But if we actually let go of that, I'm sure is a lot, even if just someone tries it for a few little small situations, you might actually see that as quite freeing. It's like you were saying before, don't plan, don't expect so much. And then all of a sudden you're delighted versus being disappointed, Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Now, I was reading on your site, which is super interesting. It said that at one time you were definitely, things weren't working out the way you envisioned them, and you were a very harsh critic, not only about life, but yourself. And you said you lost everything, and it kind of felt like that was a really big turning point for you. And kind of on the other side, you had some really powerful words. You said that the outside world became less and less in charge of your feelings. And essentially, you became more responsible for yourself and your life.
Right.
And it's saying, and you actually wrote the word, I'm grateful for me. And I think that's the difference of what we were just talking about. There's a life you know, when you're in a mindset of, I want to control and I want to know what's happening and I need it to be a certain way, there is a lot of critique because you're trying to always meet an expectation. But if you're on the other side where you just kind of let go and you're actually just really grateful for yourself, who should be your number one fan,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's life-changing. And I think you felt that too. It's an amazing feeling.
Yeah. I mean, it's really easy to get caught up in what's being shown to you from the outside world. And it's really easy to take on other people's opinions and take on, look at your place in the world and sort of make decisions based on that. And I realized like I was just in a place where I was constantly browbeating myself and just saying, you're a failure, you failed, you didn't continue this trajectory you were on, you've let people down, you're a letdown. You know what I mean? Like it just all starts to, and then at one point I literally was like, what am I doing to myself?
Yeah.
And I started meditating and I started realizing that it was just an overactive left brain that was trying to distract me and that my thoughts were exactly that. They're just thoughts.
Yeah.
They weren't harmful. They were just thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine that daily? Imagine daily like us. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people do that. And we always go on about those negative thoughts and how you talk to yourself. And if you're always saying that you're failing every day or you're letting people down, and if you're bringing that person to the world, I mean, that's what we don't realize. And that's why I know they say, listen to what you're saying to yourself, but it is super important.
Yeah, it really is one of the, like, I think sometimes even when you're telling self-effacing stories where it sounds like you're just kidding about yourself, you are actually still saying those things to yourself.
Yeah,
you are actually giving yourself short shrift. Yeah. And I think you have to be careful with that stuff sometimes. I mean, you don't have to walk around and tell everybody how great you are, but you can talk about how great it is to be alive or how great it is to be in this moment, or, that you're missing the best part. How do you know this isn't the best part,
Yeah, it's, and it's similar to that self-deprecating behavior that a lot of people make. And sometimes even if my friends do it to me, I know they're going to probably be doing it on a date. And I'm going, girl, just don't do that. Like, I know you're probably joking, but I don't feel like you should be speaking in that way because it's technically probably, I think it's hurting, but
it depends. You got to be careful about the information you give people because they will exactly, they won't always do with it what you want them to, They may look at it and say, oh, wow, this person's got some insecurities or whatever. And it's okay to have insecurities. I mean, you can't go to a date and pretend to be a super person, but at the same time, I think there are places where if it's unattractive to browbeat yourself too much.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
I tell my wife I was a big dumb guy and she goes, that's the unsexiest thing you've ever said. She's like, there's nothing. She goes, I didn't marry the big dumb guy, so don't be the big dumb guy.
Yeah, that's so true. I had an instance the other day with my fiance where he was telling me something a direction that I could have taken, meaning I could have gotten a mortgage, but instead I decided to travel the world. And I was then starting to go, oh yeah, maybe I should have done that if I had known better. And he basically said to me, he goes, no, back yourself. You decided to travel the world and that's okay. And I was like, you know what? You're right. Yeah. And really, even at that later stage of having a fiance, there's still these habits that come back to go, oh, I should have done better, could have done better, could have been, and then after that comment, I made a switch and I was like, wow, I'm going to back myself.
Yeah, I think you even have to do it in places where you've made real mistakes and be able to say, yeah, I made a mistake there. I'm okay with it. It's not the way I wish it went, but I'm okay with it, and I'm better because of it. Because I probably would do it again if I had to do it again because I hadn't.
Yeah. We only knew what we knew at that time, right? So you made the best decision at that time. Now you know better. Yeah. Move on.
Now you got to move on.
Yeah, I hear that acceptance.
People won't let you move on, and that's something you have to sort of deal with.
Yeah, and I love the point you were making about how there is all these other outside influences and opinions and what's best for you. And I like to empower people to say, I know what's best for me. And yeah, I can take other input, but in the end, I know what's best for me and I can make a good decision and I stand behind it and own it and accept it. And it's hard, but it's quite freeing, I would think. Yeah. No, I love that. I was reading how on your site as well, you mentioned self-respect, and I can tell you're a big advocate for that because it's a lot of where this is coming from. And yeah, you make a good comment that says, treat yourself well that minute you get out of bed to the moment you go to bed, you know, and it's, again, that's what we were saying, being aware of how are you talking to yourself? How are you going into the day? Yeah.
Right. And why can't this be an awesome day? Like why, you know, we wake up sometimes and we have things to do and we get, you know, oh, I'm tired of doing the same thing over and over again. And it's like, well, bring some new life to it, you know? You know, make a gratitude list, you know, think about the things you're really grateful for. You know, are you healthy? Do you have a job? You know, are you living indoors? I mean, those are all positive things.
Look at all we do have, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to sort of, again, you know, realize what it is you're saying to yourself as you do everything.
Why do you think we focus on the negative or what we don't have versus, like you're saying, being grateful for what you do have? Do you have any insight into that?
Part of it is, I mean, part of it's growing up an American, you know, and striving.
Yeah, that's true.
And feeling like you're not doing well enough and that you should be doing better and that the opportunities are out there for you and that you should be, you know, maximizing all of your efforts. I think another part of it is just the problem solving that the brain tries to do. It looks for things to be scared of, you know, because we're not out hunting our own food. So it makes other problems for us to try and solve. And we're also trying to keep ourselves safe. You know, that's a part of being safe is sort of letting you know, oh, you should be looking at this, you should be looking at this, and you shouldn't get cocky here, and you shouldn't get too excited here. And, you know, so our brain has a tendency to sort of downplay all of our accomplishments. And sometimes you need to take a moment and just sort of sit down and have a cup of coffee and think about how great you are and the cool things you've done and realize, you know, and if you're not doing great things, if you don't feel cool, then start doing great things. You know, just start taking actions on your own behalf.
Yeah.
You know, start minimizing the amount of time you are wasting not doing cool things. Do cool things. You're not doing cool things, do some cool things.
Do it, you know?
It really is sort of like that. It is sort of like if you're not doing something cool, figure out something cool to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. One a day.
Like something you're excited for if you're not excited about it.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's everything you're saying. Okay, if you're going to start to go into it's a negative day, make it a good day. If you're not doing things you don't like, do things you like. You know, it's literally just a mental shift. It's not, you don't need approval or permission from someone. Tell yourself you can do it and just do it.
Right. Ask yourself why you're not making the changes that you're making. You know, a lot of times people are like, well, I can't because, and then you're like, okay, well, you're screwed then. They're not going to help you.
I know. I love that. Well, that's your problem.
When they say I can't because, I'm like, well, then you don't need to be on the phone with me because I can't help you. I can't help you unless you're ready to take a step.
Yeah.
In another direction and give something a shot and start looking at the possibilities of what your life would be if you weren't doing this thing that you say you have to do. The same thing with relationships. Okay, well, I guess if you have to be in this relationship with somebody because you're afraid to be out in the world on your own, that's fine. And loneliness is a scary thing, but is it really worth it to be in a relationship this shitty?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
People stay in crappy things because they're afraid and then they waste their time.
Yeah. It's true. It's fear. There's a lot of fear, and it's just a lot of calling yourself out on that fear. And are you not enjoying yourself enough to change it? That's really where that motivation comes from. And I know I wouldn't be. I wouldn't want to stay miserable.
No.
You know?
No.
So where does this ability and desire to help people, especially in this area of relationships, where does this come from?
I don't know. It's sort of organic. I mean, it didn't happen. It happened organically in real life. Like I wasn't setting out to write self-help books. You know, I literally told a girl who was seeing a guy who wouldn't sleep with her that was bad, you know, and then it made it into an episode of Sex and the City where I was working, and then it became a book, you know.
That's so cool.
But it really came out of an organic need to be honest with somebody and to see somebody do better. And I've always had just an affinity for wanting to see people make more out of their lives. You know, partly because I want to make more out of mine. So you're obsessed with the thing that you also are trying to do at the same time. So, you know, in helping people, I'm also trying to better my own life.
Totally.
You know, and so that it works hand in hand.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, again, that line, he's just not that into you. I still quote it and it's still relevant and it cracks me up every time because I still think it's one of the best kind of direct you know, truths about what really happening. Everyone can dance around it. And I feel like a lot of books try to justify this and justify that. It is so just straightforward. There's no question about it.
I used to always say to people, you don't even need, I mean, the answer's on the cover of the book.
Yeah.
You don't really need to buy it. It's right there. It's right there, and it's right there. I mean, and you knew the answer the whole time. And that's what, if you're holding the book, you already had an assumption. You already made an assumption. You're already close. You know. And that phrase, you know, can be applied to a lot of things. Your work isn't into you. Where you're living isn't into you. What you're doing isn't into you. You know, you can feel when you're rubbing up against something that just isn't working. And it's like, God, I've got to find something that works.
Yeah, I love it. It's so great. I love also a statement you made from the book. It's just a fucking date. And you said, or it might have been your wife saying it, are you presenting yourself to the world that says, I'm worth getting to know? I love that. I think that is so empowering, because if women need to kind of have this something replaying in their mind, that's a great one.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes or no on that. And if you're not, switch it, you know?
Yeah. And that has more to do with the way you come off than the way you look necessarily.
Right. Of course. Yeah. It's that feeling. Like, are you, internally.
Yeah. But I think a lot of the times, you know, we have these biases of like, well, I shouldn't have to, you know, have my hair done, or I shouldn't have to have it all together for someone to love me. And it's like, no, you should have it together, because people don't want to be with someone who doesn't have it together.
Yeah.
You know, we all know what, you know, because I think people's biggest fear is that they're going to have to take care of you. And that's why people get scared of relationships, is all that neediness. Then they're afraid they're going to have to carry you, and they don't want to carry you. And if you look like a person who doesn't know how to get out the door in the morning, you know, that's going to weigh on it, you know, and it's hard to love people for just what they are, you know, it really, you know, that's asking quite a bit.
It is, but it shows the power of a relationship when two people can handle themselves, look after themselves, take care of themselves, love themselves, and then you get to bring that together. That's like, that is the ultimate. And
my wife shouldn't have to accept all my flaws. I shouldn't accept all my flaws.
Yeah.
I should be working on them. I mean, there are certain things about me that are going to be the same probably over time. There are certain ways I go about, there are ways that I think, or there are ways that I process that I can't change a lot, but I can pay attention to what's going on and try and make, you know, I've grown quite a bit in my relationship.
Yeah. And I think people don't actually realize that you do grow in a relationship. And that's why sometimes interactions, arguments, disagreements come up, because you're working through your own stuff. But at the same time, that's helping you grow. And I know I've grown tremendously in my relationship. And that's why I even love the person more for it, because I never would have known all that stuff or tried to work on that stuff. It's quite amazing. And again, it's a very easy thing to shy away from and say, oh, it's not perfect. It doesn't, you know, it is scary. It is hard, but I think that's why they say it's hard in relationships, because you're working on that stuff. But I think people need to see it not as a bad thing, but actually a good thing.
No, it is a good thing. And I think sometimes we tend to take it personal, because we expect the person that we love to love everything about us. And we shouldn't be asking, we should love everything about us. And we should also be judicious in looking at the things and going, you know, maybe I could be doing this differently. Maybe I could be better at this. Maybe I am, this is what it's like to live with me. You know, sometimes you think, well, I like the way I am. It's like, okay, but are you fun to live with? Is that okay for a bunch of people, or is everyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. It was so freeing to know. It was so freeing to know that I didn't have to like everything about my fiance. I was like, oh, thank God. That takes the pressure off.
Oh my God, my wife barely likes me.
God love her.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, we aren't supposed to have the same head about everything. And as you get older and time goes on, you know, there are certain ways that you're not the same anymore, in certain areas that you do come together, and, you know, it grows and it morphs.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, because you were saying before about what women expect. And I still come across a ton of women who very much say, well, I want the guy to approach me because then I know he's a man. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to have to approach a man. And I want to get your perspective on that from a man's perspective, because I feel like those are, not to say the old-fashioned ways of dating. I think it's great, and I think we all still want it. Do guys still want to do that?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that's the one area where my opinion in the book is different now, because because in the book I talked about the way I was raised, which was to ask women out, you know, to when I, you know, if nobody was going to ask me out. My father was really clear on the fact that, like, you know, if you want a girl, you're going to have to approach her.
Yeah.
And I think most of the boys that I was with that were straight were raised that way, you know. But as time's gone on, and you know, I have a 17-year-old and a 14-year-old. Boys I don't know what anyone's doing anymore. I don't know what people are doing. I don't know how they do it. They hang out, they stand near each other, they Snapchat. That's, you know, a lot of their initiation is done on the phone, or, you know, over social media, or in texting. So I don't know really what the rules are anymore of engagement and what anything means. You know, I think whoever it is should be excited about pursuing you, regardless.
Right.
You know, or pursue you back, you know. So it's hard for me to make the hard rule of, like, just wait for them to call.
Right.
You know, I don't know if that's what they do anymore.
It is different now. It's so true. And I love what you said in your book as well about, and what you're just saying. I think the golden rule should just be, no matter how you get there, don't accept anything than an actual date.
Yeah. I mean, it's just having standards for yourself and saying, this is what I would like. This is how I'd like this to go. I want to be alone and in person with you. I want to spend some quality time alone. I don't want to just be in a group. I don't want to go have a hangout. I want there to be some clarity about what we're doing. There's nothing wrong with that, you know. That doesn't mean that you have to be hardcore about it all the time, but I think having some, you know, and I think anybody who is interested in you wants the same things. They want to spend time alone with you. You know, they want that flirtation. They want that, you know, that quality private time.
And I feel like if a woman is not okay with that, or not able to ask that, that's when, again, reach out to someone like you and talk about why you're not, you know, having that self-respect to want that, you know. I think that's where, stop there, let's get something fixed, and then let's go on.
Well, I think sometimes people feel like, if this is the best I can do, I'll just do this. And if I'm getting less, that's fine, because we can't expect much from people. I think having low expectations of how people should treat you is a bad thing. I think having expectations, you know, I think there's a way that we like to be treated, that we want to be respected, that we want to be treated, that we want to be approached. And I think having a set of standards around that is different than having an expectation. You know, the expectation is about how it takes place, but the standard is just a level at which you go, yeah, that's just not how I operate.
Right. And be okay with that. Yeah. Yeah. I like when you say, do not reward minimal effort.
Yeah.
Right. Like, no, it's not okay. And it's good to have a standard. And I think it's interesting. This is a good roll into, because I think you and I both agree that the courtship of a man and a woman is a very symbiotic process. You want to know he's interested, and he wants to kind of pursue you. He wants to earn, you know, you essentially. So by letting him do that, you're then getting what you want, in terms of knowing that he's actually interested, and he gets what he wants, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the way it used to work. And I just got a letter this morning from a cisgender, I mean, what am I trying to say? A
transgender?
Not transgender, but anyway. Yes. What is the word I'm looking for? It begins with the B.
Bisexual?
Not bisexual. Oh, I'll think of it anyway.
Okay.
Point is, somebody who wasn't straight. Okay. And they said, are the rules any different? And I said, I don't think the rules of self-respect are different for anybody.
Right.
You know, you know, and you can pursue somebody without asking them out. You can let them know you're interested. You know, you don't have to be the one that's making the plans. You can be just letting somebody know, hey, you know, there's this 5-minute window in which I will allow you to ask me out, and it's going to close soon, so you have an opportunity. You know, I mean, I think there's ways, cute ways around letting people know that you're interested. I don't think there's anything wrong with letting somebody know that you're interested in them, regardless.
Yeah.
And see what they do.
Yeah.
You know, if you show somebody you're interested and they don't ask you out, they're not interested. You know, that's just classic.
And it's so interesting, yeah, because I think you and I come from that same era of, you know, guys will pursue, have your standards. It's so hard because I get questions like, you know, what about kissing on a first date, or how many dates do I give them to know? And it's hard to answer that question because
binary is the word I was looking for.
Binary.
Binary is the word I was looking for. You know, it's as long as you want to take to get to know somebody. You know, the sooner you give them the treats, the sooner that's over. So, you know, when do you want to reward somebody with the gift of you? I mean, that's really what it's up to. It's when do you want to, you know, I mean, kissing is, you can kiss on the first date, you know, if it feels like kissing, all that kind of thing. I always say, you know, the sleeping thing I was sleeping with, I always say, take some time with it.
Yeah.
You know, don't rush right in. I don't know if 3rd date, 10th date, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you know, there are exceptions to that rule too, but I feel like you can never do poorly knowing somebody better.
Right.
So you just know the person better. You just have an idea of how the experience is going to go. If you don't know them really well, you don't know how the experience is going to go. It's an incredibly personal experience. You know, it's not to be taken lightly.
Yeah. I was saying as well, it feels like sex can be very easy and easy to do. It shouldn't be, but it is. Weirdly, getting to know somebody and putting that time in, that shows interest, you know? And that's, you want to sort of convey that's more what you should be looking for, you know? And like you just said, you're not going to lose anything by waiting, because because you can tell me as a guy, if I'm a girl and I'm still on date 5 and I haven't had sex with you, are you going to run away? And if you're interested, or are you going to keep pursuing?
Right. And if you're interested, you won't, you know?
Right.
That's it. And if you can't wait, then you're not that great of a guy. You know, you're not that much of a catch.
Right. It works it out, and then, you know, you kind of work out what he wanted, and yeah, guys are going to want sex. That's the way I see it. We all want sex, but a lot of these rules, I think we're saying, is when you want more. You know, it's when you want something beyond just something casual.
Yeah, right. I mean, if what you want is sex, then have sex.
Yeah.
You know, just be honest with yourself about what you're doing. And play it out in your head. Play it out what it's going to be like afterwards.
Yeah.
Think about what the whole thing is going to be. You know, what's that going to feel like afterwards? Where are you going to be after that, after you've done that? How much closer will you be, and how much, you know, or will you be further away? Because that's what happens a lot.
Yeah. So true. I have a fun question. From a male perspective, what is the biggest turnoff?
Neediness. Yeah. Self-esteem. You know, how you feel about yourself. You know, I mean, you can be funny about yourself, certainly, and you don't have to come on lying and pretending to be somebody you're not. But I feel like thing that makes people, like I said before, we said in one of our books, don't freak people out with your need. You know, don't come in with all of your wedding plans or all of your life plans or all of your, you know what I mean? Like, everybody, you know, we all want great stories. We all want to have marriage. We all want to have, you know, or a lot of us think about that kind of stuff. And that's great to want all that stuff. And it's okay to want all that stuff, but you don't have to want it all and say it all on the first or even the 3rd date. Like, it just is, you know, parcel yourself out. Yeah, so yeah, neediness would be the biggest turnoff.
Yeah, okay. And that's a good point, because obviously the dream of the wedding and all these things are what women kind of dream and aspire to. I'm always curious to know for guys, like, what do they, not to say dream of, but what do they look forward to? Is it more just family? Is it just having a really supportive partner? What, what is it that maybe guys?
It depends. I don't know that I don't know that I could generalize on that. I mean, I really wanted a partner.
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted somebody to go through life with.
Mm-hmm.
Someone that was like my best friend and my pal and my, and somebody that obviously I have sexual chemistry with,
Yeah.
but also like that's not the most, you know what I mean? Like that's just part of a bigger picture. Yeah, I think, and I wanted a family.
Mm-hmm.
So, those are the things I look forward to, but I'm different than other guys,
You're not the exception, though. We remembered that's not good.
I don't want to be, I'm not the exception. No. I think there's a lot of guys that want to have, I mean, I really wanted to get married and have a family,
Mm-hmm.
I really did want that.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So interesting. And so, it's just amazing how much it's changed from over the time. But at the same time, I feel like nothing's changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I mean, I watch my girls still geek out over boys,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they're radical little feminists, but they still geek out over boys. And I still think that's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't make them not feminists, but I think at the end of the day, we all sort of want to connect with somebody,
Mm.
Gay, straight, or otherwise, everybody wants to connect with somebody. I think we all want to be seen by somebody, and we all want to be heard by somebody, and we all want to be loved by somebody.
Mm.
We all think there's somebody out there special for us. I mean, I think there's more than one special person for us, but I do think that there are definitely, I think there are, there can be many.
I love what you say about the ultimate goal being seen and being heard. And it's true. I think that's what falls under that love category of what we all seek. But yet I feel like sometimes we all fall into this short-term pitfall of chemistry and sex and lust and, it's great. And I had to say, okay, I love that. But at the same time, I've got to change something if I want the really good stuff, which is what we were saying, which is so simple: being seen, being heard, being supported, having a best friend that you're attracted to.
Yeah, being understood a little bit, or a great place to be when you don't even understand yourself, I think that's the core stuff at the bottom of it,
Mm. Do you think what you were just saying about understanding yourself, do you think if someone goes, oh, I don't really understand myself that well, do you think they should address that first and then the dating world?
Sure.
That's a red flag to start with?
Yeah, because otherwise you're going to look for understanding in other people.
Yeah.
And you're going to have somebody else fill in that hole for you. I think if you don't understand yourself, you have a tendency to let other people give you who you are, let other people decide who you are, tell you who you are, show you who you are. Mm-hmm. And that's never a place you want to be.
Yeah.
The only person that will ever really know you is you. The only person that will ever really get you is you. Mm-hmm. And as much as we want to be seen and heard, that doesn't mean that person gets us completely. And it's not their job to get us so much.
Yeah. Because they're dealing with their own stuff too. We always think about, I feel like we always think this other person is perfect. Everyone else is perfect and we know our own faults and stuff. But if we think about how complicated we are, that other person is just as complicated. So that's why I think just give a little, give each other a break,
Yeah, I mean, and remember, you're there to support them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like this sort of like yin and yang, sort of like you're there to help them, they're there to help you, and it sort of rolls like that. And your job is to be of service to your partner as much as possible without wanting anything back.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you tend to get back just because that's the way the world works.
Yeah, it's kind of like starting in abundance. It's almost like thinking, I don't need anything, but I am so happy to give to you. And by giving, you're receiving, and you're kind of more leaning it forward versus leaning back. And when you lean back, it doesn't feel like anything.
100% abundance is very attractive.
Yeah, yeah.
Living in abundance is really attractive to people.
Yeah.
Because they want that, because they think, oh my God, look at you, you've got an abundance of everything.
I'll have what she's having, is what they say.
Of course. That's right.
It's true. And like you said, if you just think about what's attractive in other people, when they're confident with themselves, when they've, got their stuff together, when they're happy with who they are, people are going to want the same back. It's attractive. And this is the thing. This is an attractive game.
Unless they're not looking for that. Sometimes people are looking for people to fix because they're broken. And so they're looking for people who have problems. And those people they all find each other.
Yeah.
But it's always problematic.
How do you identify if you're that person and you want to kind of stop that? Is it more just who you're attracting or what you're doing?
It's a little bit of both. And I think it's one of those things where when you see somebody, you think, oh, they'd be perfect if only. And then you're going to try and you're going to be the one that changes them. You're going to be the one that gets them to do this or gets them to do that or cleans them up. Or, there's a lot of people who want to take care of people, finding people, and, you find yourself making a lot of suggestions to your partner.
Might not be that whole accepting thing. You're right. I think it's you're either fixing or you've got this perception that you want them to be, but that's a great thing for people to notice. If you're going, yeah, this is great, but it's like, no, but if there's a but and you want to change something, then that's not who this person is.
Yeah.
We're in reality people,
Yeah. And if there is a but, there could be a problem, and it might be something you want to look at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the only people that you can only change yourself.
Yeah.
And people are only really motivated to change when they really have to, and if they really want to.
Yeah.
And some people like the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
And have no intention of changing.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Oh, this has been so good. We've shared a lot. We've helped a lot. We've touched on some amazing areas that I don't think people would expect.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in this space that you would like to share that we maybe haven't covered?
I mean, I always just like to say to people, try and stay present and try and want nothing. You know what I mean? Try and just be in the moment and not need anything. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not talking about the greater things in life, about wanting to have a job.
Yeah, of course.
That kind of stuff. But I mean, can you not have an expectation about the next moment? Can you just let it unfold in front of you and be there listening and available to whatever could be happening? Because I think a lot of times we miss stuff because we're so on our own program, so on our own track, or want something to turn out a certain way as opposed to letting it unfold in front of us. And I think we miss a lot of cool stuff because we're not willing to let the world unfold the way it wants to. And sometimes it unfolds the way we don't want it to in the moment, but that doesn't mean that down the road that wasn't the best thing to happen.
That's true. And I imagine that can be so hard these days with everyone walking around with our phones and our mini computers. And I always encourage people to look up, and I think it's even harder these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because that, I'm older, so I'm pretty good at just putting the phone down and walking away.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem. When it first came around, I did, like everybody else. But then I just realized, like, oh my God, I'm missing so much.
Yeah.
I just don't need to be attached to it all the time.
Yeah. I have a little trick now. When I leave my phone at home, if I go for coffee, I actually leave the phone at home. And then you'll see how many times you go, oh, and you go to reach for your phone. And you're like, whoa. Woo.
Yes,
that's a problem.
Yes, the habit. But I'm really pleased when I forget it. I'm pleased how you forget it, that I realized, oh God, I wasn't thinking about it when I left, so I don't think about it that much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also not that much going on my phone. If I had my daughter's phone, that's the phone to be on.
Yeah, totally. I love it. I think the biggest takeaways as well is just if you can, like you said, think about your line where you say, if you can walk around each day knowing that I'm someone from the inside worth getting to know. You're always going to be carrying a feeling of abundance, gratefulness, and essentially self-respect and esteem for yourself.
Yeah.
If you can think that, in order to think that, you have to have that inside.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and it will show. It's like when everyone says it's just you're gleaming. And when you said, you're attracted to non-neediness, it's nothing to do with looks. It's nothing to do with anything. People can see when you're in a good space, especially.
Yeah.
So it benefits both, right? Like you feel great. They're attracted to you. It's a winning situation.
Yeah. People with abundance have very little need. You know what I mean? And
yeah. Well, there you go. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, please let everyone know how they can potentially get some more help and seek guidance from you, because you're amazing. And
Thank you. Well, I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed it. My website is Gregory Behrendt, Behrendt, GregoryBehrendt.com. And if you go there and you subscribe, you'll get a free meditation. It's a meditation called Don't Take Bullshit from Fuckers. I think you will enjoy it. It is both humorous and real. And that's a little sense of me. I have a podcast that's also called Don't Take Bullshit from Fuckers, which you can get on iTunes. And it's Gregors on Instagram. And that's where you can contact me on my website about coaching, and you can contact me. You can DM me on Instagram about coaching.
Great. Great.
I love doing it.
Well, thank you so much. This was so insightful.
Yeah.
Helpful. I love it.
It was great talking to you.
Yeah, we're going to help everyone get their Mr. Right this year and feel great about it. So this is the year 2020.
People got something from it. I really do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Greg. Enjoy. We'll talk soon.
Bye.